So when they hold something in their Web3 wallet that makes them feel like, wow, I'm a part of this, and this thing that I'm a part of can actually benefit me and like holds value for me, I would urge artists, to answer your question, to think about the real value that that provides them.
Liam, welcome. Last week you were interviewing me, and we're switching it up this week, but we appreciate you coming on.
Thanks so much for having me, Brandon. I'm getting deja vu.
Well, we're going to jump right into the questions here. I am curious sometimes how people got into the space. So what got you involved with Hedera, and why did you choose this ecosystem?
So I've been kind of interested in Web3 and in particularly, I suppose, cryptocurrency at the start of it for about 10 years. And what initially drew me to the Web3 ecosystem was trading cryptocurrency. And of course, as we all do in our early stages, lost a whole bunch of money, but learned a whole lot along the way and really became fascinated in this idea of Bitcoin and what it offered the world, and eventually Ethereum and what it offered the world. And then the 20,000 other ecosystems, and thinking to myself, wow, how many of these are really relevant? And then once upon a dream, I think it was on the Hidden Secrets of Money, Mike Maloney episode 6 that I heard about the hash graph for the first time. It was either that or I'd heard about it somewhere else first. I know that they had kind of like an early sale, but I heard about it either through like the idea or concept of an early sale and Lehman talking about the tech, or on Mike Maloney. I can't quite remember now, as it was many years ago. But I just remember thinking, this sounds like something that would genuinely work, unlike all of the other solutions that I've seen. And based on what I'm seeing now, years down the line, about to build on it myself and having had a successful launch and watching others do incredible things, I can see that that's exactly right, that this is an ecosystem where amazing things are happening that actually have application in the real world. And that's ultimately what we've all been waiting for years and years and years. So real pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so it's almost the exact same path and almost this exact same time frame. Back in 2015, I was buying a little bit of Bitcoin, and then 2016, a little bit of Ethereum. Never did it in size until I got to HBAR, but I did have fun with it during those early days. So now I want to get into what you're actually building. What is Impart, and what are your goals with the platform?
Cool. So essentially, there's a problem that, we know that your average person doesn't know about and doesn't think about. But creatives such as myself, who've been in a creative industry, for me, that's music, it's composition, it's piano, it's DJing, electronic music production, etc., for 20 years. And the problem is ultimately that although I have an exceptional education in what I do, and I even know a thing or two about marketing, and I'm a decently well-seasoned business owner, and yet I cannot freely express myself to like the core of what I am as a creative and earn an income, earn a living doing that. And there are millions of people all around the world who experience the exact same problem. And a lot of us have actually paid a lot of money for university level educations to get to the point that we're at. So we're in a huge deficit, and yet there's no industry for us. And the world is dominated by the generic platforms that we use, Spotify, etc., are generic platforms. They are designed to keep people addicted to them. This is well documented information. And so creativity has kind of fallen by the wayside. So what does one do about that? And it's a problem that is obviously like weighing very heavily on my heart. And I've had to pursue doing other things with my life as a result. Many people have quit. Some people have ended their lives because they can't do what they love, and it's really sad to see. So the problem to me has an easy solution. People do what they're incentivized to do. So our solution to this problem is to incentivize people to care about creativity by creating a decentralized application where people can do all of their favorite things like stream music, listen to audio, watch videos, read books, shop for creative products, view and download digital art like NFT products. So they can do all those wonderful things, but with an investment layer on the hash graph where now your average streamer turns into an investor, that I can invest in creatives for the first time. And when I'm invested in a creative, I'm incentivized to care about that creative. And you see how it solves the problem. Because all of a sudden, if I'm invested in a creative, not only am I incentivized to support them, but I'm also incentivized to kind of think a little deeper about the creative art that I'm consuming, because I'm invested in it, or at least I have an opportunity to maybe invest in it. So it's actually going to shift, we believe, the perception of how people think about creativity and creative art. And I think that's exceptionally important given how, we're moving more and more into an automated AI-driven world. And AI can do things that most humans can do in the creative spaces now already. And I think that having that additional spark of creativity reignited and a platform that can really support that is really important.
One of the other things that I think about with Web3 and what I've witnessed and even experienced myself is once you have skin in the game, once you've invested, you also become evangelical. You become the biggest promoter of whatever that is. What are your thoughts around that? The fans actually becoming the promoters of these creatives?
Well, that's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. Because currently, no platforms, once again, incentivize fans to actually support people who they care about. In fact, on most platforms, you'll hardly see the people that you really care about because of the algorithms, right? So, what's beautiful about what Web3 is opening up in terms of this is that, like, creatives can like really weaponize their fan base, because once they're invested, it's like you say, they're going to do all sorts of things for you really for free. And that's not even a bad thing. Most of the time, they'll even probably want to do those things. And those things that they'll want to do for you are genuinely going to help you. And creatives need help. It was like I was saying to you on our podcast the other day that, like, there are probably plenty of people in most communities that would be more than happy to create some content for or write something for the owner of that community. And that's something that can really help a creative along. Creatives need to focus on what they came to this earth to do, which is to create things and to kind of push us forward with that, and to reflect on the times in their creativity so that we can all feel something, that we can all be moved, that we can all kind of collectively grow, both intellectually and emotionally, and hopefully spiritually as well. And so if we can take all of the other kind of responsibilities off of the creative, such as, well, how do I market myself, how do I grow a fan base, etc., if we can make that as easy as possible for them and really make fans more interested in collaborating with artists, then artists have to be in finding fans. I think that that's going to be cool. And once, just to answer your question finally, I think that the hash graph and the functionality that it allows us to provide in an app like what we're eventually going to be talking about is exactly what is going to provide artists with a fan base that truly are beneficial and aren't just in the background playing their stuff, but there's no like direct line of communication. For example, as a musician, I could offer my fan base the ability to come into a private space with me and hear some of my demo records before they're released, like in a private Galaxy world on the hash graph, for example, that I can tokenize and set up. But only the holders of my NFTs or my tokenized product, they can come into that world. They can get those demos behind the scenes. They can get to know me as a person. And maybe, hey, maybe those fans will even influence my creative process, and that's a beautiful thing. I don't think we've begun to scratch the surface of what is possible in terms of like the artist fan relationship and how that will shape art in the future.
So we've been talking, like always, to the Hedera community here. We've been talking to potential fans, but what about the artists themselves? How should artists think and other creators think about Web3?
They should think about it as a way to build a community, really. I know that you're very close with Kabila and Manu, and their whole, like, the coined phrase of Kabila is tokenize your community. And what that really means is sell or give NFTs to your community that incentivize them to support you. And that is something that doesn't exist. We have platforms like Patreon, for example, and you and I have spoken about this, where I pay a monthly subscription fee and I might get like gated access to some private videos and maybe a call with you. But I also don't really have anything tangible that proves I'm a part of that I can show other people. I think that, when you hold a digital product like an NFT or a token, you feel much more a part of that world. And I don't know why that is. There's something about the human nature that it enjoys that kind of possessiveness over something that makes them feel a part of it. And this thing that I'm a part of can actually benefit me and like holds value for me. I would urge artists, to answer your question, to think about the real value that provides them. Because if you can get people feeling this way, then you're going to get people really excited about supporting you as a creative.
And we're just scratching the surface with this. We have teams like Kabila, like Galaxy. You mentioned both of those, and we're going to have Impart coming. There's going to be these different tools, but we actually have to really start to leverage them and prove out what we know is possible, but really hasn't come to fruition to this point. So I'm excited about what you're doing. So what does your ideal client look like, and how should they get in touch with you and your team?
So anyone who is a creative of any kind, like whether you write music or you're a sculptor or you write poetry or you create digital art or even real physical art, I urge you to come and join our community at first, because this ecosystem is all about community and stimulating community. But like, you're going to want to be around when we launch the early versions of this app so that you can be on the app first and establish your profiles and ultimately then build a fan base once users start to use that app. So on the creative side, anyone who does a creative art form of any kind. Now, something worth noting is, there's no real way to put a dancer on an application, for example. But obviously, you can video record your dancing and then sell those as services. So it doesn't matter what type of creative art we're talking about. There's going to be a place for you of some kind on this application. And in terms of like the user side, anyone who ultimately uses a creative platform, if you can even call them that these days, like Netflix or Spotify, where you consume creative art, there is a whole world that you have not yet been exposed to, unless you've actually taken the time to really delve into that. And that's a real shame. At Impart, we believe that creative art has the ability, and it's free. It literally has the ability that is available for free to reshape your whole being. And so we urge you, if you use any kind of like creative application like Spotify, Netflix, whatever it is, Showmax or YouTube, and you consume what you might call art, on a daily basis, this app is going to be a place where you can do all of those wonderful things, but we're really going to create an impeccable user experience. We believe it's so important. And of course, we're talking about the hash graph and Web3, but as Lehman would say, it's so important that these things function in the background, that people almost don't even know that they're using a Web3 technology here. And so we want to make this a seamless, fun, amazing experience that really like transcends the minds of the users who use it. And that sounds like one hell of a feat to achieve, and I think that it is. But I think it's very important that there are creative people at the helm of that, and we are. And so whether you're creative or whether you may even think that you're not even creative, come and join our community, come and join our Discord, come and chat to us, because we have average everyday people who are starting to like post things in the creative writing chat and like draw and paint things and get involved in life more creatively. And it's such a joy and a blessing to see how that improves their well-being and how they're just genuinely happier people when they do that. So it's really for everyone, Brandon.
I'm really getting excited about all of the tools that we have in the space, from Tune FM. I mentioned, of course, Galaxy and Kabila. We have Impart. But now I'm starting to think about, you haven't really mentioned, sculptors and things like that. So if you come across any sculptors, it would be actually perfect for Twigital. We're looking for people like that that work in those 3D mediums to just generally highlight what Twigital can do, while at the same time highlighting some of their art. Now, I also know that you have an NFT floating around out there. I would like to have some more information around that. You had a successful launch, which was really impressive for a new team that's entering the space. What does that NFT do? And just tell us about what that experience was like of launching an NFT on Kabila.
Well, firstly, the experience launching on Kabila, as I've mentioned many a time, and we gave them a wonderful testimonial, was just such a breeze and a pleasure. They've created a suite of tools that makes it really easy to understand how to do these things. Because, let's be honest, Web3 it's a complicated matter. And what I say over and over again to people, and like May and I chatted about it in depth on the podcast, is like, why do Web3 developers not try to make these things more easily accessible, but then scratch their heads wondering about why no one's using it and adopting it? And so, it's really important that a user experience is easy and seamless. And Kabila offers that, whether it's by having videos embedded on the actual platform that explain how to use every element of the platform, or just being on call, and being willing and ready to help, which is amazing. So shout out to the team at Kabila. Really, they've created something amazing, and it really allows you to create your own NFT collection and even launch it and even edit it after you've created it. There were some mistakes that I made when minting our collection. We're only human. Imagine it was immutable on a blockchain and I couldn't edit it. So having that functionality is super important. And like when we launch this application and we allow creatives to tokenize themselves and tokenize their artworks and sell those and raise money, for example, we're going to need that suite of tools integrated in. And so Kabila is going to be building that out for us. And like we've seen the product that like to us is almost like an early version of our application. And so there's a lot of synergy there. But essentially, we launched 100 NFTs. We sold them for a hefty 1,000 HBAR each. And it was a big ask with the market down. And we got the support of the community. Some people bought multiple. And, they really got behind the multiple people bought multiple and are still holding them and are still getting excited. And we were quite taken aback because we come from a place where no one cares about creativity. So to see people put their money where their mouth is and not just say, oh, this is such a great idea, but actually invest in it was an unbelievable experience. And like what we have experienced as a result of what Kabila offers is what every creative is going to experience on our app when we make it as easy as possible for them to do the same thing, right? In terms of the global passes, to touch on those for a bit and what they do. So there are 100 NFTs currently. We're not making any more. We really wanted the early investors to benefit the most. There are some on secondary, but the price is essentially already double what the sale was. So I think they're going for about 2,000 HBAR or so at the time of this video, or just under. But essentially, they're like your private kind of pass into the world of Impart. The most notable benefit, I'd say, is that when we launch our Impact token, which we're hoping to do within the next 6 months to a year, once we've finished app designs, holders of the NFTs will receive their share of 10% of all of the Impact tokens. And this Impact token is going to be the micro facilitator on the hash graph for the application itself that kind of runs in the background. And so the Impact token is going to play a very important role on the eventual DApp. And so a lot of people bought multiple passes because they want a bigger share of that token allocation when it eventually comes out. But it's more than just a token allocation. This is obviously pending regulatory approval, and this is not financial advice of any kind. But what we would like is to offer both holders of our NFTs and holders of our eventual token a revenue share in the application itself. And so, these passes are going to be invaluable in terms of that. If we can build a kind of multi-million plus user database on our application, and they're all streaming and paying monthly subscription fees and investing in NFTs, and our holders are getting a percentage of that, all willing, that is something very valuable, we think. And we know that our close community was aware of that benefit, of course, because we privately consulted them on that, but we weren't able to publicly talk about it because it's pending regulatory approval, as I'll always say. And I think that's what I'm most excited about here, is like the idea that an NFT can actually represent almost a microshare in something, or a token can represent a microshare, because that incentivizes people truly. There's no greater benefit that I can offer holders than you'll have a revenue share in our entire application, right? And apart from that, they'll get airdrops of future NFTs from artists we collaborate with. They'll get, airdrops of future, token allocations, like our trash token, which is our meme coin, which is a whole other revolution that has to do with how artists have been trashed. And we've got a meme coin kind of punting that whole message. And so there are benefits to do with the trash ecosystem. And generally speaking, it's going to be like voting rights on the app. It's going to be early access to test the app. And it's eternal access to our partners, our networks, and really us as founders in our community. And right now, people are pretty excited to be holding them, and we couldn't be happier about that because they're very dear to us.
Well, congratulations on your success so far. You have an awesome vision. I wish you the best of luck with everything, and thanks for coming on today and telling us about it.
Thanks so much, Brandon. Appreciate you so much.
I'm now posting these interviews of Hedera builders independently to my channel. The community, influencers, and media outlets are free to use this content to spread the word on what's being built on Hedera. Once they're all uploaded, you'll be able to go to my channel and search for whatever topic or team you're interested in to find more information. Or you'll be able to get the most recent Hedera news by watching the latest HBAR weekly update. So check them out.